golden beach coastlines to scenic trams and historic cities, to cobblestone streets and lush wine regions, every city and town of Portugal offers a different vibe. Whether you're here for culture, scenery, food, surfing, wine, or simply slowing down and enjoying life, Portugal has something for every navigator. Hey, my name is Nick. I'm a travel planning strategist and videographer over at navigatornick.com, showing you how to get the most bang for your travel buck. In other words, value travel. By the end of this video, you should know exactly how to build a Portugal trip that fits your time, your budget, and your travel style. Portugal is one of the easiest countries in Europe to fall in love with, and one of the easiest to plan badly. Most first-time visitors either try to do too much, choose the wrong base, travel in the wrong season, or waste time booking experiences that look better online and waste your time. First things first, where is Portugal? Portugal is located on the western edge of Europe, bordering Spain to the east and the Atlantic Ocean to the west, and it's one of Europe's oldest countries. Despite its relatively small size, it offers massive diversity in landscape, culture, and experiences. My first Navigator Nick tip is don't think you could travel to Portugal and Spain in the same trip. That's a huge mistake. Portugal rewards slower travel. Most international travelers arrive by air because I'd imagine it'd be quite the long boat ride from the east coast of the USA. Portugal's main international airports are Lisbon, Porto, and Faro. Lisbon is best for first-timers, Porto is great for northern itineraries, and Faro is best for the Algarve. As far as international flights from North America, Lisbon is usually the cheapest and most flexible entry point. The good news is that airlines are adding more and more direct flights during high season to Portugal every year. Once you're in Portugal, getting around is easy. Trains are efficient and affordable, and they connect major cities like Lisbon, Porto, and Faro. Buses are affordable, but a little time-consuming. You can hail a cab the old-fashioned way, or use ride-sharing apps like Uber or Bolt. Rental cars are also a great idea for hitting the road and exploring on your own, especially in the south of Portugal and the southern coastal regions. Last but not least, a private driver is always an option if you insist, or perhaps you're traveling with family or a large group with luggage. You can't beat walking out of the arrival halls and seeing your name on a sign. Portugal is easy to navigate, but make sure you use the right transportation in the right areas. The language in Portugal is Portuguese, not Spanish. They are completely different, so don't confuse the two. However, a lot of locals in the bigger cities, restaurants, and tours speak English. When in doubt, Google Translate to the rescue. Download it for your trip before you go. Navigator Nick tip: try to learn a few phrases and words in Portuguese. The locals will really appreciate it. The outlet plugs in Portugal are type F. The standard voltage is 230 volts at a frequency of 50 Hz. Before your trip, I'd recommend buying plug adapters, and I'll leave a link in the description below with my favorite brand on Amazon. Portugal uses the euro for their currency, and many restaurants, cafes, and shops accept Visa credit cards, but not all. Just make sure you're using a Travel Rewards credit card like the Chase Sapphire Preferred card with no foreign transaction fees. Oh, and definitely still carry a few euros with you at all times. Let's answer the biggest question first: is Portugal worth visiting? And the answer is absolutely yes. Portugal is absolutely worth visiting, but perhaps not for the reasons social media has taught you. Portugal is not just Lisbon's yellow trams, it's not just a boat ride to the Benagil cave, and it's not simply a cheaper version of Spain. Portugal has its own pace, personality, food, culture, history, landscape, and even travel rhythm. Within Portugal, you can experience historic cities, dramatic Atlantic coastlines, castles and palaces, wine country, beach towns, surfing, mountain landscapes, fishing villages, and slower, more traditional communities. And all of that is connected by an easy-to-use transportation system. Over the last few years, Portugal's popularity has changed the experience. Lisbon, Porto, Sintra, and the Algarve can become crowded and expensive during the busiest months. But here's where Portugal still delivers excellent value. It's no longer the secret ultra-cheap European destination that some older travel videos make it out to be, but Portugal is great for value travel. Timing in Portugal is one of the biggest value decisions you will make. During the summer, which is June through August, gives you long days, hot weather, beach conditions, festivals, and a lively atmosphere throughout the country. But with that, you also get larger crowds, higher hotel prices, more difficult reservations, and intense heat, especially inland. July and August can work well if you prioritize the Algarve. But for city exploration in Lisbon and Porto, summer is not automatically the best experience. Walking Lisbon's hills in extreme heat while standing in line for attractions is not maximizing a vacation. For me personally, the best time to go to Portugal is in the shoulder season, which is April, May, and September and October. Shoulder season brings the sweet spot. You can often find comfortable walking weather, fewer crowds, better hotel availability, lower prices than peak summertime, and enough warmth to enjoy outdoor dining. May and September are especially strong if you want to combine cities with the Algarve. The ocean may still feel cool, but you can swim, and overall the experience is much easier. Wintertime can be a great value in Portugal, and that is November through March. During this time of the year, you can find cheaper accommodations, quieter streets, fewer lines, and a more local atmosphere. But you can also expect rain, cooler evenings, shorter days, and some seasonal businesses slowing down, particularly in the beach destinations. So you shouldn't ask when is Portugal cheapest. You should be asking, when does Portugal best support the experience that I want? Portugal is warm, humble, and proud of its traditions. Locals are friendly, but not rushed. Meals are social and slow, sometimes taking a lot longer than you'd expect. And also, respect goes a long way, because Portugal values family, food, football, and just enjoying life in general. Portugal's train system is fast, cheap, and reliable. For example, from the Lisbon airport, you can reach the city center in just about 20 minutes. From the Porto airport to the city center, you can reach it in about 30 minutes. Taxis and Ubers are affordable compared to most of Europe, and Bolt and Uber are widely used in safe and major cities like Lisbon, Porto, Lagos, and Faro. One of the questions I get often is, do you need a rental car in Portugal? Well, you definitely don't need it in Lisbon, and you don't need it in Porto either. The only time when you need a rental car is if you're taking a day trip to the Douro Valley from Porto, or if you're exploring the Algarve. Navigator Nick tip: if you are planning on renting a car, you will need an international driver's permit or an IDP to allow you to rent a car. You can pick one up at your local AAA store for under $30 in North America. Use my link in the description below to search and compare cars up to 70% off, or scan the QR code on the screen right now. Before we go any further, let's talk about safety. Portugal is one of the safer countries in Europe. Just watch out for pickpockets in busy tourist areas, trams, and crowded viewpoints. Okay, Portugal is one of the most underrated foodie scenes in the entire world. Portuguese food is simple, fresh, affordable, and incredibly satisfying. This isn't a destination where meals are rushed or overcomplicated. Food in Portugal is about quality ingredients, tradition, and taking your time. And the best part, you don't need a Michelin star restaurant to eat extremely well here. Here are some things you should definitely try. It's famous for its bacalhau, or salted cod, and locals joke there are 365 ways to cook it, one for every day of the year. Bacalhau usually comes with onions and crispy potatoes, roasted in olive oil and garlic. If you're in Porto, you have to try the francesinha. It's basically the ultimate grilled cheese sandwich, but I wouldn't recommend trying to eat it with your hands. Traditionally, it's made with 2 slices of white bread, cheese, a grilled steak, and 2 types of smoked sausage layered with a mildly spicy beer-infused tomato sauce. It's freaking incredible. With that said, Portugal has one of the longest coastlines in Europe, and it shows on the plate. Fresh seafood is everywhere. Grilled sardines, octopus, clams, and sea bass, oh my. And let's not forget the most famous dessert of them all, crispy, flaky, creamy center with a light dusting of cinnamon and powdered sugar. I'm talking about the pastéis de nata, Portugal's iconic custard tarts. Oh, and if you love wine, you'll be in heaven. Personally, my favorite is the port wine. Let me know yours in the comments below. How to eat like a local. Here's how to get the most value and avoid tourist traps. Eat where menus are short and seasonal. Avoid restaurants with aggressive hosts. Lunch menus are generally a great deal, and you'll find much better pricing. Dinner starts late, 7:30 p.m. or later. Bread, olives, and cheese placed on the table are not free. You'll pay if you eat them, just so you know. And my last tip, ask the servers what's fresh. It's normal and much appreciated. For first-time visitors to Portugal, I recommend starting your trip in Lisbon and finishing in Porto. And here's why. Lisbon is larger, busier, and more energetic. It feels like the natural introduction to Portugal. Porto is smaller, more intimate, and more atmospheric, almost romantic. Porto works beautifully as the slower conclusion to your trip. Starting in Lisbon also makes Sintra easy. Then you can travel north by train and avoid backtracking. The smartest flight strategy to Portugal is an open-jaw itinerary, which is flying into Lisbon and flying home from Porto or vice versa. Mistake number one is definitely booking a round-trip airfare flight to Lisbon or Porto and having to backtrack and losing a day of sightseeing. When comparing your flight prices, always compare the total itinerary, not just the airfare price. The good news from Navigators is Portugal is adding flights to Porto, Lisbon, and the Algarve every single year. Lisbon is the destination that most first-time travelers to Portugal automatically include, and it deserves that attention. But Lisbon is also where poor planning creates unnecessary frustration. So the question is, how long do you stay in Lisbon? And I recommend staying at least 2 full days in Lisbon, not including Sintra. 3 days are better if you want a slower pace and you like to relax. Now, if I was going to Lisbon for the first time, these are the areas that I would stay in. Baixa, Chiado, Rocio, Príncipe Real, and Alfama. Location really matters in Lisbon because it is extremely hilly, and it's much hillier than it looks on a map. A hotel that appears on Google Maps in the city center may require steep stairs, cobblestone streets, and a difficult walk with luggage. This is one of those places that where paying slightly more for the correct neighborhood may improve every day of your trip. Personally, my favorite area to stay in is the Alfama district. Portugal offers some incredible accommodations because of the value it has to offer travelers. I don't think you'll spend a lot of time inside, but nonetheless, you'll have no problem finding boutique hotels, apartments, guest houses, and coastal resorts in the Portugal Travel Guide. Scan the QR code on the screen right now or click the link in the description below. Portugal's charm actually lies between attractions, so don't check everything off like a bucket list. Leave room for coffee, neighborhoods, long meals, viewpoints, and unplanned discoveries. Tram 28 is iconic, but it's not worth sacrificing an hour or more of a 2-day itinerary just to say you rode it. Check the line. If it's reasonable, ride it. If it's packed and the wait is long, walk through Alfama instead. You're not missing anything and it's a smarter travel decision. Navigator Nick tip, see the Santa Justa lift for free. Many visitors wait and pay to ride the Santa Justa lift solely for the view, but you can actually walk up to the upper level from the streets above and enjoy the view for free. Same reward, less friction. After you're done getting lost in Alfama's alleyways, continue on to St. George's Castle. Honestly, you're not visiting because of the castle, you're visiting because of the incredible panoramic views over Lisbon. Not only will you find great views, but you'll find roaming peacocks, and it's surprisingly quiet. Make sure you walk around the castle walls and take in the 360 views all around. Tickets for the castle are around $30, and that includes Skip the Line and a short audio guide. One of Portugal's most famous landmarks, the Belém Tower was inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List in 1983 and is a symbol of Lisbon. While I only recommend going in if you're interested in its history, but viewing it from outside is definitely where you want to be at. Once you're done viewing the Belém Tower, walk along the waterfront to the Monument of the Discoveries. This entire area celebrates Portugal's age of exploration. Next, visit the Jerónimos Monastery. This place is stunning. The architecture alone makes it worth visiting, but just be prepared, the lines can be a little long. So booking tickets ahead of time is one of the smartest things you can do, and trust me on this one. You can scan the QR code right here or click the link in the description below. And for all those home chefs out there, if you're interested in tasting and making your own Portuguese cuisine, consider taking a cooking class. This 4-course hands-on class helps you learn about Portuguese gastronomy and culture the proper way. Get in the cooking mood with some drinks and finger food while you learn about each dish from spices to culinary approach. Arrive to a cozy, inviting kitchen and start the night off right with appetizers and Portuguese wine and beer. Not only that, but you also make the famous pastel de nata. Scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description below. The best viewpoints or miradouros. Lisbon's secret weapon is by far its gorgeous viewpoints, and the best part is they're completely free and they are all over the city. Lisbon is built for panoramic moments. Here are the best viewpoints in Lisbon for first-time travelers. One of the biggest mistakes I see navigators make in Portugal is thinking that Sintra is just a half-day trip. And it's not. Sintra is a full day between trains, palace times, walking, getting from place to place. You really need an entire day to spend your time there. So here's how to plan it. Start early, book your attractions in advance, and start with the Pena Palace. Choose 2 main attractions and make the third one optional. For first-time visitors, I would prioritize Pena Palace, Castle of the Moors, and Quinta da Reguleira. If you want, I have the full order, transportation guidance, and attraction planning details inside my Portugal travel guide for travelers who want the day mapped out more precisely. You can find my Portugal travel guide in the description right down below. If you're traveling from Lisbon to Porto, most travelers are asking, well, how do I get there? Do I drive, do I take the train, or do I take a quick flight? For most travelers, train is the correct answer. The journey between Lisbon and Porto is straightforward, comfortable, and generally takes around 3 hours depending on the service that you choose. I normally compare schedules and book through Amio because it keeps the process in English and makes comparing departures easy. Book early when possible, particularly between high season and busy travel periods. Before visiting Porto for the first time, I thought it was just another Lisbon, and that's totally not the case. Lisbon feels larger, more international, and more energetic. Porto feels intimate, atmospheric, and almost emotional. Lisbon makes me want to explore, and Porto makes me want to slow down. So how long should you stay in Porto? I'd recommend staying at least 2 days in Porto with another day for the Douro Valley. For first-time visitors, I consider staying in areas near Ribeira, Baixa, or Claregoche. Again, Porto, just like Lisbon, is very hilly, so where you stay definitely matters. And it'll cut down on the friction between walking from point to point every day if you're always going uphill. So here's what I definitely prioritize if I'm exploring Porto. So if you want Porto's most iconic vibe, start in Ribeira. This is Porto's historic riverfront district. Yes, it's touristy, but it's also genuinely beautiful. Porto's most famous landmark is the Dom Luís Bridge. And if you do one thing in Porto, walk across this bridge at sunset. It is incredible. The views of the river, the rooftops, and the city lights turning on are absolutely unreal. São Bento Station is one of the most beautiful train stations in Europe, hands down. It takes 5 minutes to walk around, it's free, and it's one of the most Portugal things you'll see. Those blue and white tiles tell stories from Portuguese history. Even if you're not taking a train, peek inside the entrance hall and just admire the painted tiles. When you're in Porto, you shouldn't miss an opportunity to get on the water. I'd highly recommend joining Sergio and Susanna on the SS Amazing Douro and taking a private boat tour. Sit back, relax, and enjoy some Portuguese tapas while taking in the views. Joining a private boat tour is one of the best things you can do in Porto. If you're interested in seeing some live and traditional Porto music, be transported to the Porto of old with a trip to Casa Fado, a 19th century cellar transformed by friends who love music. Sip on a glass of port wine while you enjoy the performances of local musicians in an intimate and cozy setting. For epic views above Porto, climb the 225 steps of the city's iconic Baroque Clairgauche bell tower. You may even find a hidden cathedral inside. No need to rush here, you can come and go at your own pace and enjoy panoramic views for as long as you would like. Porto's cathedral area is one of the best spots for absolute amazing views, great photos, and that medieval old world feeling. This is also where you'll feel Portugal's hills the most. Next up, let's talk about Porto's most famous experience, and that is experiencing and tasting the port wine. And honestly, this is one of the best value experiences in Porto. Not only will you learn about Portuguese wine, but a little Portuguese history as well. You can do a guided cellar tour, which come with tastings and sometimes a food pairing, and beautiful terraces with views across the city. And let's get something straight, you don't have to be a wine expert to enjoy Porto wine. Navigator Nick tip, do one cellar tour, not 5. Save your winery day for the Douro Valley. The Douro Valley is one of the prettiest wine regions in all of Europe because the landscape alone is enough reason to visit. You have terraced vineyards, winding roads, small villages, historic estates, and the Douro River moving through the valley. Just an hour and a half away from Porto, the Douro Valley is one of my favorite areas in Portugal. The Algarve is an entire region, not just one town. The 3 bases most first-time visitors compare are Lagos, Albufeira, and Faro. Lagos is my strongest all-around recommendation for many first-time Algarve visitors. It gives you dramatic cliffs, famous beaches, boat tours, kayaking, and a walkable old town. It's also best for travelers who want beaches, atmosphere, sightseeing, and possible surfing. The big downside is that it becomes extremely crowded during peak summer, and parking can be frustrating. The second option in the Algarve I'm going to recommend is Albufeira. Albufeira is best for nightlife, larger groups, resort travelers, pool-focused vacations, and travelers who want easy entertainment. It's definitely more developed and commercial. That's not automatically bad, but it simply serves a different type of traveler. If you want nightlife and resort convenience, it may be the correct choice for you. If you want quiet charm and a more scenic base, I would look elsewhere. Last but not least is Faro. Faro is the most practical option for short trips, airport convenience, travelers without a car, eastern Algarve exploration, and travelers who prefer a more local city atmosphere. Faro is not the classic beach base that many people picture when they think of the Algarve. For first-time travelers to the Algarve, I would choose Lagos. Navigator Nick tip: please do not book somewhere in the Algarve just because it looked nice. Make sure you know where you're staying. The Bendergil Cave is one of Algarve's most famous attractions, but temper your expectations, it's not what it used to be. Sea conditions, access rules, crowds, and ocean safety can affect your experience, so choose a reputable operator. And most importantly, understand that the bright, empty cave you see online may look very different during a busy part of the day. Algarve is home to some of the best beaches in Portugal, but one of the most important distinctions is the difference between the south and the west coast. The south coast is generally more protected and better known for swimming, boat tours, and classic Algarve beach days. The west coast is more exposed to Atlantic conditions and is where surfers often find more consistent waves. If surfing is a priority, Lagos gives you a strong balance because you can both access the southern coastline and take day trips to Sagres. And yes, the Algarve is a perfect time to be humbled by the ocean for the first time. Always one of my favorite topics, setting a budget to value travel. As a travel planning strategist, my goal is to help you make smarter money decisions before your Portugal trip. I specialize in value travel, and value travel doesn't necessarily mean cheap. Value travel means knowing when to go, where to stay, what's actually worth prioritizing, and what looks good online but isn't worth your time or money. And Portugal is one of the best countries in Europe to do exactly that. Like I said before, Portugal really delivers excellent value when it comes to travel. Now your costs are going to depend greatly on season, location, how early you book, and the style of your trip. I'd recommend booking flights at least 6 to 8 months out to get the best prices. There's no doubt that Lisbon, Porto, and the Algarve during busy season are going to be expensive, but it's still going to be cheaper than most other European destinations. If you found this video helpful so far, it would mean a lot if you left a comment below, liked the video, and subscribed for future Navigator Nick travel guides. I truly appreciate the support. When planning a trip to Portugal, most travelers are pleasantly surprised by how far their money goes. On average, you can expect to spend around 70 to 100 euros per day for budget travelers. This includes staying in guest houses, hostels, or simple apartments using public transportation while mixing in grocery store meals with local casual restaurants. On the other hand, mid-range travelers can expect to spend around 120 to 180 euros per day. This is the sweet spot for most travelers. Comfortable, well-located hotels or apartments, eating out regularly without splurging every night, and paying for experiences that actually add value to your trip. Mid-range travelers aren't penny pinching, but they're also not booking 5-star hotels or chasing Instagram restaurants every night. You're paying for comfort, location, and memorable experiences while still making smart choices that keep costs under control. Luxury travelers can expect to spend around 250 to 400 euros per day per person. Yikes. Luxury travel in Portugal delivers excellent value compared to other European countries, but it's just not for me. However, the biggest reason Portugal is a value traveler's dream is because of the food. You can eat exceptionally well without breaking the budget. And you can do this by mixing casual cafes with sit-down meals, taking advantage of lunch menus, or ordering house wine instead of imported bottles. And another thing, transportation is also affordable and efficient in Portugal, including buses, trains, and ride sharing. Navigator Nick tip: try to avoid the $300 travel mistake, which is booking a hotel outside the city center that creates daily transportation costs, loses time, and loses flexibility. Instead, spend that money intentionally on location. And remember that value travel is about making smarter travel decisions, not selecting the cheapest number on every screen. So, what do you pack for a trip to Portugal? Packing for any Portugal trip is all about being prepared without overpacking. Think solid colors, casual outfits, and light layers. But the most important item in your bag is probably those comfortable walking shoes because you will get a lot of steps in. Navigator Nick tip, if you choose your accommodation smartly, you may even have access to a washer and dryer midway through your trip. Not only will this save you from filling up a suitcase full of stinky clothes, but it also allows you to repair outfits or wear outfits again. Keep it simple and pack smart and save your room for souvenirs. Portugal rewards navigators who are ready for experiences without dragging their entire closet along with them. Let's bring the biggest Portugal mistakes all together. Portugal and Spain are neighbors, but they're entirely different countries. When I traveled through Portugal, I made the mistake of assuming that they would feel similar and that combining both countries into 2 weeks would be simple. But Spain feels larger, more varied, and more energetic. Portugal feels more slow, more intimate, and easier to connect in a single route. Trying to combine Lisbon, Porto, Barcelona, Madrid, and additional day trips within 2 weeks may sound efficient, but in reality, it creates a trip dominated by transit. For most first-time travelers to Europe, choose Portugal or Spain and don't try and combine them in 2 weeks. Trying to see the entire country too quickly. Choose fewer regions and experience them properly. Don't rush from place to place. Mistake number 2, treating Sintra like a half-day stop. Definitely give Sintra a full day and reserve the major attractions in advance. Mistake number 3 is renting a car in Lisbon or Porto. Definitely just use the trains and public transportation systems. Mistake number 4, ignoring the hills of Lisbon and Porto. Mistake number 5 is waiting for every famous experience. Tram 28, Santa Justa Lift may not justify the time for every single traveler. It really depends on the experience that you're looking for. So one question I get asked all the time is how many days do you need in Portugal? But that answer varies greatly, depending on what kind of experience you want. So the right amount of time depends on what you want from the trip, but here's a simple breakdown. 1 week in Portugal gives you cities, culture, castles, riverfront scenery, wine country, and 2 completely different sides of Portugal without constantly changing hotels. Now if you have 10 to 12 days in Portugal, here's where you can add the Algarve. You could spend 3 nights in Lisbon, 1 day in Sintra, 2 or 3 nights in Porto, 1 Douro Valley day trip, and 3 or 4 nights in the Algarve. This is honestly best for the first-time travelers going to Portugal and who want variety without moving every other day. Now with 2 weeks you have plenty of time to slow down in Portugal. You can include Lisbon, Sintra, Porto, the Douro Valley, the Algarve, and perhaps one additional destination such as Coimbra, Évora, Ibiros, Nazar, Braga, or somewhere else. For a complete day-by-day itinerary, check out the Portugal travel guide in the description below or scan the QR code on the screen. For American travelers visiting Portugal for tourism for up to 1 month, the requirements are fairly straightforward. First, you need a valid US passport. Your passport should remain valid for at least 3 months beyond the date you plan to leave Portugal or any other country inside the Schengen area. Navigator Nick tip, personally I wouldn't travel with a passport that expires within the next 3 months. Another question I get all the time is, do American tourists need visas? American tourists currently do not need a traditional visa for a trip of less than 1 month. US passport holders can generally visit Portugal and the rest of the Schengen area for up to 90 days within a 180-day period. Just remember that the 90-day limit applies to the entire Schengen area combined, not 90 days in Portugal followed by another 90 days in Spain. During your trip to Portugal, you should also be able to provide proof of your return onward flight, confirmation of where you are staying, and evidence that you can actually financially support yourself during your trip. Now, there are two border systems that Americans need to know, and one is the entry-exit system known as EES. As of April 2026, EES is fully operational and digitally records the entry and exit of short-stay, non-European travelers. Instead of relying solely on a passport stamp, the system may collect your passport information, facial image, and fingerprints at the external Schengen border. This is not something you need to apply for in advance, it is simply a part of the border entry process. The second system is the ITIAS. ITIAS is not currently required as of this recording, but it is scheduled to begin during the final quarter of 2026. Once it launches, visa-exempt American travelers will need to complete an online travel authorization before entering Portugal and other participating European countries. Check the official European Union and US State Department website before your trip. Navigator Nick tip: when ITIAS launches, only use the official European Union website or app. Do not pay a random third-party website pretending to be the official application. And like we talked about earlier, make sure you have your IDP if you're planning on renting a car. Tip number 1 is always pay in euros. When a credit card machine asks you if you want to pay in euros, always make sure to say yes, and if you do not, your bank may charge you a small foreign transaction fee. Navigator Nick travel tip number 2, always use Apple AirTags or Android Tiles. Make sure to put a tag in all of your bags. Navigator Nick travel tip number 3 is traveling light. Europe definitely rewards navigators who pack light and can travel easily with less friction. Personally, I travel with a carry-on and a backpack, and that's really it. If I didn't have my camera gear, I would consider packing everything in one bag. Whether you're moving on public transport, walking down a cobblestone alleyway, or catching a flight, less bags means less worrying, less money, and less time waiting for baggage claims. Lay out what you think you need for your trip and then take away half. And I'm dead serious. You don't need as much as you think you do. Navigator Nick travel tip number 4 is learn a couple Portuguese words and phrases. It will really go a long way with the locals. Words such as thank you, please, you're welcome, how much, and where's the bathroom are pretty important. Now, I want to hear from you. When are you going to Portugal and how many days are you staying? If you're planning Portugal right now, I have linked my complete Portugal travel guide below, along with the resources I personally use for Airlo eSIMs, Omnio train bookings, Discover cars, airport transfers, accommodations, tours, and much, much more. Please consider subscribing for future travel videos. I really hope you learned something and appreciate your time. Until the next video, happy travels and keep on navigating.